Stygian Onslaught, Genshin's newly released endgame that takes 3 full teams against 3 separate battlefields in a reverse time trial format. The combination of your remaining time on all 3 stages determines your score. This game mode has 6 difficulty levels, with the final one not only being exceptionally difficult, but also has an extra special 180-second challenge. The reward, bragging rights, and some really cool shiny weapon skins. Defeating difficulty 6 grants you 4-star versions of these skins, and beating the same thing in 180 seconds grants you 5-star versions. Unfortunately, these skins are only temporary, so you'll have to redo these difficult stages with whatever new bosses they decide to plop in here, usually requiring super specific mechanics and forcing specific team comps not exactly for the faint of heart or the faint of wallet. My name is Xlice, and welcome to the journey of how I min-maxed my time all the way down to 180 seconds. First, let me show you what it looks like when a whale, me, tries the event for the first time and gets disgustingly humbled by mechanics from bosses he has not done in a very long time. I did manage to clear the hardest difficulty, but I made a fool of myself in the process, and then I showed the internet and got blasted for mediocre gameplay. Fair enough. My fault for not being present in Genshin's Abyss or anything endgame combat related in quite some time. But for myself, I was personally not satisfied. This event reignited something passionate about long nights of min-maxing and optimizing gameplay until I got just the right reset, the right timings on particle funneling, ultimate uptime, crit fishing, and boss patterns. My first completed run, I took C6 Moika, C2 Varessa, and C0 Skirk with C6 Farina duo against the Tulpa, Lava Dragon, and Automaton bosses. I will not bore you with the whole run, but here are some highlights of each stage. I didn't crit that. Oh, pausers. Why was I in that animation? I don't know how this works. This does not seem right. I need Shepherd's ult first. That's for sure. Wait. How's the damage? Oh, it's good. Oh shit, the damage is really good. The gameplay, now that I look back on it, is honestly quite horrendous. Barely have an inkling of Moika gameplay doing these full spin charge attacks, which are not inherently bad, just really unoptimized for proper meta gameplay, which if I'm gonna be doing this event, I need to lock in. Varessa was a staple for the Lava Dragon, but it was still a struggle to break its shield during each phase. And Skirk, pretty standard composition. I do have C6 Farina duo, who is providing massive necessary buffs, but I don't really use all the constellations. C6 Farina autos are a waste of DPS since Skirk's normal attacks are just way more potent. The only thing I may need is one normal attack post E to activate Farina's healing. With all 3 of these runs done, this was my completed time for my very first run. 319 seconds. Scuffed C6 Moika time ended up at 87 seconds, C2 Varessa clocked in at 116, and C0 Skirk C6 Farina duo clocked in at 116 seconds as well. Time difference looks like a 139 second drop that I need to reach 180 second total time. So I need to average 60 seconds each stage. Quite daunting at first, but the more runs I did and the better I got, I started shaving time down fast. And as a quick disclaimer, no, I did not pull any additional constellations or any additional weapons from that 319-second clear. Everyone on my account is staying how they are, only relying on artifact swaps and existing weapons that I have, and capped at level 9 talents because I have held off on using my crowns my entire career, and it will stay that way until something extreme happens. At the end of the day, I will not spend for constellations just to improve my time, since these skins are temporary, and over time, my roster will likely be power crept in boss capability, since I was already struggling super heavily on Lava Dragon. So this 139-second chop took a lot of time, about 25 to 30 hours of on-stream grinding each individual stage, theory crafting with my Twitch chat, and Limbo Sauce, shout out to him by the way, for theory crafting with me on the best possible strats that specifically my account could access and use. I'm not going to bore you with this middle phase. There are cut and uncut runs runs on my second YouTube channel called More Xlice if you want to check that out, how I slowly shave down time further and further, practicing different team comps to test their limits until I reach the golden run. All you need to know is that I fucking did it. No talent crowns used because it's a self-inflicted restriction, and with Pyro main character and Amber on very specific builds, which were both crucial to the strategy of their respective runs. So much so that the Pyro MC swap initially gave me huge relief that I could use Bennett on a different stage. Turns out, Bennett wasn't used at all. If you're curious, his time was 2 seconds slower on Lava Dragon, not because his buff is bad, but because the problem wasn't the buffing. It was the speed I needed to blast through the boss mechanic as fast as possible, so its resistances were down. My C2 Veresa comp just unfortunately could not deal enough damage to be within 80-second clear time, which is the window at which serious min-maxing started to happen. Lava Dragon ended up being a huge problem, because I didn't have the best invested characters for it, with C2 Veresa being the second closest unit. C6 Arlecchino turned out to be the best choice after many hours of trial and error, with the comp focused on speedrunning the first 2 boss phases and bringing it to the 3rd down phase as fast as possible. All relevant talents are level 8 or level 9. Gear will be shown at the end of the video. First will be the run with no commentary. After that, I'll break down exactly what I needed to do for each run, because everything down to particle funneling and cooldowns were optimized. So, before you comment that I could have done this or could have done that, wait till I explain how and why things are done. And yes, I tried every variation of other plausible units to use. They were worse than the run I'm about to show you. All right, let's lock in and roll the clip. No commentary. Oh, holy shit! Holy f. Oh. Oh my god. Yes. And there it is. The perfect 180-second clear. 38-second Tulpa, 77-second Lob Dragon, and 65-second Automaton. Now, to replay each run, and I'll explain what was necessary to succeed. So we're leading with Power MC, tap E to set up Scroll and Freedom Sworn. We instantly swap to Mawika. We tap E to generate her Night Soul. Can't skip this, by the way. If I don't tap E, I can't do exactly 9 charge dash and 1 combos. It'll be about 6 because Mawika's ult will only have about 10% Night Soul with no tap E. Then we have Xlice E into Shilonen's E with normal attacks. Both Qs are time wasters and don't provide any buffs. We rely on Xlice's E only to tag the mini Tulpas. Now we ult with Mawika and do exactly 9 charge, dash, and 1 combos. So in the previous 42-second runs, I did 2 full rotations and ended the fight with Mawika's ult to finish the job. With this optimized Power MC buff, our damage threshold became high enough that I can finish the fight in 2 extended rotations, shaving down the necessary 4 seconds. As I'm doing 9 charge, dash, and 1 combos, I swivel around the boss so that Xlice's E can tag the Tulpas. You can watch my Night Soul be exactly enough for 9 combos. Right, so my ult phase lasts for about 6 combos that you see here. And then right here is when my Night Soul starts ticking down for the last 3. Once it's end, we immediately tap E to refresh and then reset up Power MC, Xlice, and Xilonen. So, just as I'm finishing Shilonen's setup, Mawika's ult cooldown just finishes resetting, and we can instantly repeat the process. From here, we just pray we have the damage and send full 9 combos for the win. Oh, and there it is.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah, I'm fucking stoked for this one. All right, so now time for Automaton. So I'm going to be showing this first before Llama Dragon because Llama Dragon was the final hurdle for 180 seconds. This one still took many hours to get down to 65 seconds, but in the grand scheme of things, this was less min-maxy than the Lava Dragon run. So, comp is pretty set. We have Skirk's best in slot. We have Shenhe, Furina, and Escoffier in that order because of how I like to play the game. I gotta go 2, 3, 4. So, Shenhe setup, into Furina setup, into Escoffier setup. Alright, so we lead with Shenhe tap E. And we want to guarantee this fab proc funnel into Furina, by the way. And we lead with Shenhe tap E because it is a gap closer as well, so I don't need a dash. So we proc the particles to Furina, then we switch to Escoffier, and then we do a short combo here just to reduce the boss's mechanic. The boss's mechanic shows up at 153, and we're just doing these attacks right now to get his mechanic down. So no ult is needed here. We do N5 into 2 N3 charge attacks for the exact timing on boss mechanic down. Once that's procced, it gives us the exact energy needed to instant Furina ult. I'm watching my tooltip here because I want to switch right when I see Furina's ult ready. All right, so about 151 is ideal here. And boom, we swapped to Furina. It was so close, but we got it. So this rotation is going to look weird because I'm watching my cooldowns. You see that I don't Furina E here because Furina's Q is the only thing that's on cooldown. And we have about 10 seconds for Furina's E, and it will last. So we don't need to E here, saving time. So, and then we instantly Shenhe ult into just a hold E here, into Escoffier Q, into E. So you notice that Escoffier's E is about 0.5 seconds from coming up right when we swap into her. So if I were to wait for an EQ, we'd be wasting that half second. All right, then a full Skirk rotation. N5, into Q, into 2 N5, and a charge attack into N5 to finish. All right, so now we Shenhe tap E into Holdy for all of that energy plus the Fab proc. Then we Furina EQ into Shenhe Q into Escoffier EQ. It's pretty standard. It's just we want to swap as fast as possible. Then we go to Skirk, same rotation. All right, it's looking good so far. You notice at the end there, by the way, I did one last charge attack for Skirk's rotation, and that is just to generate a little bit more of that Abyss Juice. All right, so for the final rotation, we are just doing enough buffs for Skirk Q to kill. Any more is a time waste here. So we instantly Escoffier quick E, switch back, Shenhe double tap E into Shenhe ult. We don't need to hold E anymore because hold E buffs the normal charge. We just need tap E for that burst buff. Shenhe ult, into perfect energy for Furina's Q. We don't need to reset E here. And then I'm just holding it. So as you guys can see here, I'm walking around here because I need to wait for Skirk's hold E to go off cooldown. Right when I swap into her, I have about 0.3 seconds. So we just waddle around. Right when it comes up, hold E into instant Q. Ooh, and just perfect timing. You guys can see all these runs, the timer is just like on that dot. It's just about to change to the next number. And if we kill, we win. So there it is. All in all, this Skirk run is just an energy management run and very quick swaps. Alright, now time for Lava Dragon. This one was the hardest run because roster selection for this boss is quite restrictive. We really only had C2 Veressa or C6 Arlecchino comps, since my Chlorine, Kanish, and any other possibility are just very underinvested for this type of content. Between C2 Veressa and C6 Arlecchino, Arlecchino proved to be more consistent since her team comp could be a lot more aggressive towards boss mechanics than buffing. With Emily plus Amber Xiangling, this run did the near impossible and cracked this boss 3 full times in that time frame for Arlecchino to take home the win, which is quite insane. All right, so let's get into it. First, we start out with Emily E setup and only wait for her Q from now on. Immediately swap to Arlecchino, an instant tap to teleport to the boss and generate that exact particles, and then we fully swap to Amber. She fully generates her ult and then instant ults. Amber holds Favonius Bow here and 4-piece Deepwood to enhance Emily's damage during the entire fight with the Baron Bunnies and her ult. Meanwhile, you can see one Amber ult straight blasts through the Dragon's mechanic, while we also funnel Favonius Orb straight into Xiangling after placing both Baron Bunnies. So, during this small window, after she places Guoba down, we swap to Arlecchino, charge attack to proc her mark so we can reset its cooldown for the real down phase later. If we don't do this, our Bond of Life refresh is fucked. Alright, so both Baron Bunnies must explode here on the boss for the massive particle generation to instantly generate Xiangling's ult. This shit is actually mind-boggling because this exact energy funneling from Arlecchino to Amber's ult into Xiangling's ult is exactly how we can down the boss mechanics so fast. We need to get that Xiangling ult at about 150 to 151 on the remaining timer, which here looks good. Alright, so swap back into Arlecchino, do 2 N3 dash cancels and 1 N2 to reduce our cooldown. This is pretty precise because we need to refresh her Bond of Life during the boss's down phase, so you'll see my E cooldown start to happen here. Alright, so swap back exactly for 0.5 seconds on Amber's ult to allow her one more Baron Bunny plop into her ult. Swap to Emily to set up her ult, and max out her turret right before the boss is down. Then swap back to Xiangling for Guoba right before Arlecchino goes all in, so we can max uptime on Guoba's Pyro Res Shred. If you guys don't know, Guoba has Pyro Res Shred if you have Constellations on Xiangling. All of these small things are necessary for this damage on this clear. So now we're spamming N3 dash cancel, and I grab the pepper when I can. At about 7 seconds left on her E cooldown, I force Arlecchino's ult to reset the cooldown since my Bond of Life is so low and my damage is getting pretty flimsy. In the past runs, I would full commit, just reset normally since Arlecchino's ult is so weak without reactions, but chat and I couldn't really tell which was better. In this run, I just sent an ult and it worked out. Alright, we then have just enough time for 2 more high damage N3 combos. Now, here comes the final extremely precise setup. Alright, Xiangling's ult as the boss comes up. We need it online, but earlier than Emily Amber so that they can set up right as the boss mechanic shows up. Swap to Emily, burst, boss mechanic shows up, Amber ult, into double Baron Bunny to wait for Favs to proc. Swap back to Xiangling, set down Guoba for more Pyro App and particles. Now, for Arlecchino, we do exactly 2 N3 dash combos from Arlecchino to reduce her E cooldown long enough. Also, to wait for Amber's Favs proc at the same time. So then we switch to Amber. For the exact cooldown for another Favs proc, I do autos for this. Funnel that into Emily because she is the most energy hungry on this final rotation. I really need her burst. Back to Arlecchino, one last N3D, and then you'll see my E. We set up the E, but we don't activate it just like the beginning of the rotation. Back to Amber. We then ult plus one last Baron Bunny for Deepwood uptime, wait for Favs to proc, funnel that to Emily for near perfect energy rotation. You'll see that right as Emily swaps here, we are waiting for those Favs procs. If we don't get it, we don't ult here. Also, you guys may notice I cannot sacrifice Emily's damage because it's pretty damn important for the whole run. Emily's doing a significant amount of damage the entire time, and that is also why we have Deepwood on Amber. Alright, so back to Xiangling to ult right as the boss goes down and set down Guoba right before Arlecchino for max uptime. And finally, this last part is why we set up E earlier. The cooldown after the charge attack is just low enough. We are 20 seconds left that I get her strongest N3 dash chain during this period. But by the time it goes down, which is 6 combos, we also will have another E plus charge attack combo to refresh Bond of Life at 44 seconds left on the timer to remove the damage fall off. So let's play out. There it is. This is 5 N3 dash combos, and we just get it at 46 seconds left. I go grab the pepper, we E-charge, and there it is. The 70-second clear. So many runs failed at this point because Arlecchino's damage fall off is insanely noticeable here, dragging the run to 78 to 79 seconds. We've tried ulting here to refresh the bond of life, but the ult is a waste of time. Here, I think with the exact swap here where we proc the E earlier during the setup is exactly why we're able to get this run. Oh, we managed it. This is definitely the tightest run of them all. We made so many min-maxing decisions that paid off here, and it is still the slowest run, but albeit Lava Dragon is very, very annoying. There we go. Now that the run is complete, a final record check and gear showcase. So 38-second Tulpa with C6 Mawika, dealing 18 million total damage during that time, which is just crazy even if she's C6. 77-second Lava Dragon, definitely the hardest run, with Arlecchino topping at 4.4 million damage, and then Emily definitely having a fair share. 4-piece Deepwood from Amber definitely made a difference long-term for this run to happen. And finally, 65-second Skirk run with pretty standard rotations and standard damage. No crowns were used, no Bennets were used, and the most valuable underdogs of performance for my team were Pyro main character, as the only character on that team to proc scroll buff from Mawika on Tulpa, and then Amber. Amber has insane Pyro application on her burst for boss mechanic. She's also the holder of Favonius Warbow for extremely necessary particle generation. Also has access to double Baron Bunny with her constellations for instant Xiangling ult, and holding 4-piece Deepwood with staggered usage of burst and Baron Bunnies for that Dendro Red Shred for Emily. Amber gets a standing ovation for her insane value on this boss. Love to see it. All right, so this last section of this video is for my gearing, which I'll let the video play for itself, and you guys can quickly seek and pause through whatever I used. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and my journey, and maybe we'll be back in the future for another teeth-clenching victory in Stygian Onslaught. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care. All right, C6R1. C6R1, 4-piece Obsidian, C6, 199, I didn't crown anyone. Stats. The stats. Power MC, Freedom Sworn, R1. Scroll of Hero of Cinder City. Max HP stack, even though I didn't need it. C6, doesn't matter, talents. Sit Lolly, 188. Starcaller, 4-piece Tenacity. I don't even know what the f she's on. She's on some random dog shit. Yeah, guys, this is my Sit Lolly build. EM, defense, HP. Who f***ing cares? C2 Sit Lolly. Kind of needed. Okay. Instructor Shielinen, R1, Peak Patrol, C2, 198. Hardest run by far. C6, R5. 4-piece Fragment. We did it. Attack, attack. Those of you wondering, attack over Pyro Goblet, my attack has nearly 50 CV, and with R5 weapon, I get about 84% damage bonus, not including 4-piece Harmonic, so we have a lot of damage bonus. We have 54 from here. We're like 130% damage bonus here. So attack versus Pyro Goblet, it's really up to substats, because there's people going to ask. There it is. No one's gonna fucking believe it. 90 fabbed R5 4-piece Deepwood. Why do we have 4-piece Deepwood, Amber? Because we're Emily, and there's nothing else I could use on her. This is legitimately very useful. Why? Because we have Baron Bunnies every course of the fight. C6. Talents don't matter. Emily, level this to 9 for this, for the level 3. Those of you wondering, why didn't you level this up? Because at the end of the day, the damage that matters is the level 3 case. Okay, I might get hate on this one, chat. Xiangling, R5. Yeah, R5 Engulfing Lightning Xiangling. Needed the damage, by the way. If I don't have R5, I can't clear. 4-piece Emblem, C6, 111, 12. Stat-wise, she's actually pretty good. With R5, she's 286 ER and massive attack bonus. And then finally, chat, C0 Splort build. Azure Light, 4-piece Finale, 82, 219. She has 97.3 crit. We optimized this so that I would crit more often. 198. C6 R5 Farina. Level 9E, we get +4 because we're in Sklorp's team. 4-piece GT, C6. People are like, yo, have C6 R5 Farina. Of course the run's gonna be easy. All right, you do it then. You do this run with my same lineup and get 65 seconds. I'll gift you a lifetime sub to my channel. Escoffier C1, I actually activated this in here. R1, 4-piece GT, 188. Doesn't really matter. I mean, she does do something, but yeah. And then finally, Shenhe. Favge. 4-piece Noblesse Favge. Yes, sir. 184 recharge. 188. Oh, I could have made this 9, but I didn't feel like I needed to. Could have made that 9, I guess. But yeah.